Hi, John here for a Saturday afternoon. I'm a little bit late today. I was trying to decide what I was going to make a video about. This week I've decided to do something on graphite pencils. As you know, or hope you know by now, that my channel is not just about oil pastels, although there is a lot of oil pastels on it. But I do probably 20 plus different mediums, and I've hardly broached any of them. And I believe that every single medium is a bit of an avenue into other mediums, and graphite is not the exception. There's a guy I watch on YouTube, I'm sorry I can't remember his name, but his drawings are absolutely exquisite, and if I could reach that kind of level I would be absolutely amazed for starters, and very, very happy. But I do like doing graphite drawings. They're one of the things I started on when I was 10 years old, and I've been drawing that long, yes. So I'm going to show you today some of the things that I use when I'm graphite drawing, and to get the results I get personally, I cannot do without any of these. Some I use more than others, but I'll give you an indication of what I use and show you what I use them for as we go through. So let's go over to my desk as usual and let's have a look at what I'm doing. So this is what I'm working on right now. This is a windmill in a bend in the river, actually not too far from where I live. So it's one of the nicer scenes that we have around here. Well, we have a lot of nice scenes in my part of the world, but this is one of the exquisite ones. And I have done this a few times in different mediums. I've done it in pastel pencil, I've done it in soft pastel. I have also done it in coloured pencil and graphite pencil before. But what's different and unique about this one that I'm doing at the moment is that I'm actually putting the full sails in on this particular picture. Normally I've got them cut off about there, and this was renovated a few years ago now, and this boathouse is new, and over towards here where there's an actual house that goes with this windmill, that's all been renovated by a designer. A lot of people aren't very happy, but that's another story. So this boathouse is new, and it's kind of all been made to look fresh and everything, and I just thought it would be lovely. There's going to be some trees in here. You can see that I've started to plan where I'm going to put some of the trees, but the trees are going to come up all round here and round here, and I'm going to put some swans and ducks in here as well. This little building's going to be pretty covered by trees in front of it, but you have to make an indication that it's there. And to get to the result that I'm getting, I use quite a lot of tools as I go along, and I'm going to show you some of them now. The reason I'm doing graphite at the moment is because I run an art group local to me, and every now and then we come up with something, and I was presented a while ago with this photograph from one of my students, and she said that I could use it, and I decided that the colour photograph would make a really nice pencil drawing for the whole of the group. And we haven't done pencil drawing for a long time, and nor have I personally, so I decided it was a really good time to get back into it. So let's have a look at some of the things I used, shall we? Let's get rid of this picture, and I'll bring this little basket down into view. First things first, pencils. Now, I was presented with some of these pencils a while back, and I have found these to be absolutely awesome, if I'm being honest. Unfortunately, they are from, well, not unfortunately they're from Artex, but unfortunately they're from Artex, and they put them in quite a cheap wrapping, which is a bit, not annoying, but a bit of a letdown. And if you are able to get these pencils, I would fully recommend these pencils. As a graphite drawing pencil, they kind of lend themselves to the feel of a pastel pencil, in as much as the softer leads in them, they feel really soft and like you can overblend them, and absolutely exquisite. I use ones from Derwent and Faber-Castell. That's all for another video, but these Artex ones are the ones that I'm using to do this picture at the moment. And I'm going to show you a couple of pictures that I've done with these Artex ones before, and if I can find them, I'm going to show you some that I've done with probably Derwent pencils. I'm not a lover of the Faber-Castell ones, it has to be said, because they are quite hard. It does say artist grade leads on these, so that's a good start. I mean, it doesn't give you any indication of how or why they are, but on the back here it gives you a picture for reference. And when you buy these, they're not actually sharpened in the box, so you have to, they've got like the wood all the way down, so you have to get them sharpened. And I believe that is part of how they keep them at such a good price as well, because on the whole these are generally under £10, which I think is really, really good value. And they go from the softest lead, which is 8B, and they go through all of the grades right down to 4H. With the H grades, I don't think you need anything more than that. 8B is quite high, and you get quite a dark line out of this 8B. That's again another video. I'm going to do a few graphite ones now, because there is quite a lot to tell, and I think there'll be quite a lot that people don't actually know, and I judge that based on the experience of my art group. But inside you can see that they're all different colours. You can see that I've sharpened them up to quite a good point. I use a Stanley knife for that, I'll get to that in a minute. And I've sharpened them all up like that, and they're quite robust and they don't break too easy. Of course they are going to break, especially if you use your sharpener and you put a little indent in here. So you have to be quite careful when you're using that. But they're all different colours, and I believe this is for people that are visually impaired. So I think that's an absolutely fantastic idea if that is the case. I have one lady in my group, she's visually impaired, and these, I have to say, will be awesome for her, because what she can do with some help is she can put the grade down, but she can also write the colours of the pencil and know that that's the grade she's going to get. So that, for visually impaired people, is above the normal, and I think is an absolutely fantastic idea, because there are people that are visually impaired that want to draw. And coincidentally, the lady in my group was the first one to join, and that was a few years ago now, and I promised her that even though she was visually impaired, I could improve her art, and she will definitely tell you that I have done that, so that's quite a compliment to me, and I thank her very much for that. So I use these Artex pencils at the moment. That's what I'm using for this picture. Another thing I use are these little makeup sponges. They cost 2 a penny. I mean, they're just cheap as chips, what we say in England. It's from a TV presenter. My friends in America won't actually know that saying probably, but they're cheap as chips, and they are fantastic for blending. The Chinese girl that I did the portrait of, I did most of the skin with these blenders, makeup sponges, whatever you want to call them, and I also did all of the sky in the picture that I'm now doing, and they can help you to get a good graduation. Fantastic for blending, absolutely fantastic. Of course, if you use the right paper. That's another video that I will be coming up with, so we're going to have at least 3 or 4 videos in the not too distant future, hopefully. So another thing I use is white tack. Now you could use blue tack, but blue tack I believe isn't quite as sticky as white tack. I'd love to find out from you or from EvoStick exactly what the differences are. It doesn't actually tell you on the packages from what I can see. But you have white in your blue, and it might just be that you need a different colour for different reasons. There's no colour staining, no show through on white paper, repositionable, quick and clean. So I use this a bit like you would use your putty rubber. But the difference is I break a little piece of this off, and I would break, I mean, this is going to last so long you would not believe. And for 99p or £1, so I'd get a little piece like that, possibly a little bit bigger, and I would roll it into a ball and I would ply it around a bit and get it to a point where it feels a little sticky. Not sticky in that you would feel it on your fingers too much, not like a putty rubber, much better than a putty rubber in fact. And I would position this into points and flat areas and sharp areas, and I can actually put this onto my paper and press into the graphite and get some very thin lines if that's what I want to do, and I can get some very subtle tones with that. So that's white tack, and I would not be without that. So another thing that I don't use that often are these indent pens. Now these indent pens are actually used for card making predominantly, and they have like little balls on each end, and this end has the same size ball all the way through, and the other side, there is actually 5 in a set, the other side has a ever decreasing size of ball from this largest one. And when I say they're used for card making, what you do, if you pretend you had your card there, to get the crease in your card you would score down the card and then fold it, and that's how you get the indent for a card. But for our purposes you can use that to score in grasses, lines, whiskers, all sorts of things, and you colour over it. And because you've made an indent with that line, and be careful because you need to get it right first time if you can. There are ways of rectifying it, but getting it right first time is the way to go. And you colour over it and it'll leave the white lines showing. So it's a good way of getting hair and for getting grasses and all that sort of stuff. So that's another tool that I use. I don't use that one that much. I have other ways of doing it, but every now and then you find that you need it. So here I have an ordinary rubber. Now what I do with this rubber is I won't rub out ordinarily. This is another video. I will rub out very gently, but I will also cut wedges off the rubber. It doesn't look like that bit's come off of that rubber. But I will cut wedges, as you can see, out of the rubber, and I will end up with sharp edges. So I'll end up with a rubber that instead of having 4 square flat sides, will end up with these lovely sharp edges, and I can use them. And it also has the flat edges as well. So I can use that for different things. Another thing I will use, for people who don't know what this is a tea strainer. Quite an old-fashioned thing and very hard to find nowadays. You put your tea in here, pour your hot water through, and you get your tea. It's for people who like tea leaves instead of tea bags. Now what I do with this is that I get a pencil and I rub into this fine mesh, and I get powder that comes out. So I can get graphite powder with that. The one thing you have to be aware, that's probably another video that will come up, is that when you do that with a lighter pencil, it will end up darker than what you imagine it would do when it is just an ordinary nib on the pencil. So turning it into powder makes it darker. So that's another tool I use. Another tool I use, if needed, is this pencil extender. When your pencils get short, and they become difficult to use, I mean this isn't quite there yet, but when they get difficult to use and you can't lean them on this part of your hand if you need to for details, then they will be down here and they will be very hard to control there. So it's nice to have that security. And you put this into the clamp, push that clamp down, keeps it secure, and it just makes your pencil back into a full-size pencil again. So that's another thing you can do. And it's also useful for when you're sharpening. So let's take that pencil out of there. That's another tool I use. Two very important tools that I have are these mono erasers. Now they are pens, they click, and out comes the rubber each end. And you'll see that one's round and one's rectangular. And of course they lend themselves to different types of erasing. This is great for lines and this is great for small details. They are quite hard, so you could use them in a conjunction with other things that you could use. I do also use a putty rubber. I don't appear to have that in this box at the moment. And I use that for soft erasing. You know, you'll find that that will be different to the white tack. So you can rub over the graphite with a putty rubber and lighten it, whereas with a piece of white or blue tack it's harder to rub over it and erase. It's better to just use it like a magnet, really. So another thing I use is these blending stumps, these paper blending stumps. I haven't used a different size on the picture I'm doing at the moment, but they come in numerous different sizes. You know, if you can only get one, then maybe this would be about the size to choose. If you can tell what that is, give you an indication by putting it against my hand. But fantastic for blending. They won't overblend like, or blend out too far like these. But what they can do is blend smaller areas, and I wouldn't be without these. The correct way of using them, and this is again another video, is to use them on their bevel, unless you're doing a very small detail when you can actually come up to the point. So what else do we have here? Battery eraser, worth its weight in gold. When you cannot remove ordinarily with ordinary erasing, use the battery eraser. Use it like a pen. On here I push the button, the eraser goes round, and I can use that for drawing lines. The only problem you have with this, or there's two problems you have with this, is you can get a thicker line when you don't want it sometimes, so you have to refill back in with graphite. And the other problem you may have is that when these erasers get very small, they get to a point where they may fall out beyond this part, and also that you could actually, if you use it incorrectly, catch the metal on your paper. So you have to be quite careful. You don't want them sticking out that far. You don't want them so they're very small. You just want them at a decent area. So don't over push them into here. Just push them in and the clamp will do the rest for you. And about that is good. You can have it a little bit shorter. I wouldn't suggest having it any longer, but that is worth its weight in gold. Another thing I may use, and I'd probably use it more if I was sitting on my sofa at home drawing, is a glove. I never thought I'd be a person to wear a glove, but I'm finding for my ballpoint pen drawing and for my pencil drawing, this is actually an excellent thing to have. I think probably I could include this. I haven't used it as yet. This is actually a pastel brush. This is a Duo Pastello brush, very expensive. I was lucky that I sourced it, and I think I only paid about £5 for it. I think they're between £30 and £60, so you know. But I've never really used it for anything as yet. But it's so soft, you could use it for blending your graphite. I haven't used it yet, but I probably will at some point. And probably the last thing is a little piece of sandpaper or glass paper. You can use that for sharpening your pencils if you need to. You can use that for cleaning your paper stumps, cleaning your rubbers on. You can use that for various other techniques. You could probably, although I've never done it, but just thinking off the top of my head, you could probably use it to rub over your paper and get a different texture. But that's a look at some of the tools that I use, and yes, I have used almost all of them on the picture that I'm doing right now. So graphite pencil drawing can be absolutely exhilarating, and when you get a pencil drawing that comes out correct and you've blended correct and everything, it can be quite exquisite. And it's a case of trying to make you see colour where colour isn't. So when you look at the picture, you automatically imagine the colour of the item that you're drawing. But of course you're seeing it in a grey, monotoned graphite state. And that's absolutely fantastic. It's all about tones. I mean, I've got several videos I'll make all about graphite drawing. Just wanted to show you the tools I use today. A few of the pictures that I've done over the course of time. As I have progressed into the most recent pictures, I've used different papers, I've used different tools, and I've learnt as I've gone along, and finding that, again, that word exquisite, I'm finding some absolutely exquisite details and tools that I can use. Albeit it is quite a simple thing to get into. All you really need, if you really wanted to do it, is a piece of paper and one pencil. But of course you're going to want to progress, because when you start seeing what you can do and what you could do, they are worlds apart. And I am going to do some more graphite pencil tutorials, because I think they are really worth it. There's all about the pencils, there's all about how to use them, there's all about the tools and how to use them, there's all about the papers. There's so many things I can tell you about graphite pencil. In fact, probably in some ways more than some other mediums. We'll leave that there, and I hope that was worth watching, and I hope that's whet your appetite for graphite drawing. Remember, I do have memberships, I do have super thanks that you can subscribe to. Until next time, whomever, wherever you are, please have yourselves a great day, a great week and a great year, and please be kind to everyone. Take care of yourselves, and bye for now. Bye! I just wanted to tell you that I am actually starting a new channel. I had started a new channel called the Oil Pastel Society, but it didn't seem to get the traction that I had hoped it would. I think that's probably more down to me than other things. And not only that, I do oil pastels on my channel anyway, so it's quite a difficult thing to actually do something different. But this channel is going to be completely different to the one I'm doing now. This one is going to be called You Cannot Be Serious. Yes, like John McEnroe said, you cannot be serious. And I hope that that kind of gives you an indication of what it's going to be about. It's going to be about ironies, about problems, about jokes, about things that come up in everyday life that you think to yourself, you can't be serious. That cannot be right. There is a video that I'm going to make. It's about a guy that got fined £1,000 for putting one envelope in the incorrect bin. I mean, you can't be serious. Anyway, please subscribe to that channel. Go over and find it. I'm hoping it's going to be a lot of fun. It's not going to be political. There may be political things that are funny, but it's not going to be a political channel, and anybody that gets into any arguments or anything like that will be banished. I only have nice people on my channels, and yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, because believe me, I've been thinking about this for over a year now, and I have heard some utterly ridiculous things over the course of that year. And yeah, I always say to us, you can't be serious. Anyway, look for that channel, please subscribe, and hopefully any day now the first video will be up. And I'll see you in that channel.